Tim Kurkjian of the Mothership and a Hall of Famer. He joins us. Opening day double dip with the Mothership. Brewers, Yankees at 3 Eastern. Tigers and the Dodgers, 7 Eastern. Joe Buck will be on the call for the game in New York. And you can catch Timmy on Baseball Tonight following the Brewers and the Yankees. Let me hit you with a poll question. Are the Dodgers good for baseball?
Yeah, I think they are, Dan. Now, the way they do business, as we know, is completely legal. And if everyone else had the same advantages of them, they would do the same thing. I think they're great for baseball because wherever they go, they're going to draw a lot of people. I think every great drama needs a hero and a villain. And to some people, the Dodgers are the villain. There's also a chance they will be so good this year that they potentially could make history in some kind. And of course, be the first team since the potentially Yankees 98 through 2000 to win back-to-back World Series. So look, I understand this isn't fair to smaller market teams that they can defer all of this money. And I think it needs to be changed, and it will be changed, I believe. But to say that they're terrible for baseball, I'm sorry, I'm just not buying it. Dan, those 2 games in Japan were really cool. And the Japanese players are so good. And the Roki Sazaki's going to pitch in the big leagues this year. I think it's good for baseball. I do.
Was it good for baseball to have opening day in Japan? And the reason why I bring this up is, couldn't you play 2 spring training games over there and accomplish the same thing? Did it have to matter to the Japanese baseball fan?
Look, Dan, I'm older than you, okay? I'm 68, and I enjoyed a parade in Cincinnati, and that was the first game to lead to the season. Still do a parade in Cincinnati, but I believe they should all start on the same day. We should start in this country. However, I'm also a realist. This is all about money, Dan. We're growing the game. Those games in Japan were tremendous, and the more and more growth that baseball can get, the better it is. If you're asking me what would I like, I would like every team to open the same time on April the 1st in this country. But am I going to argue with what we saw and the Ohtani show and the Sasaki show? No, I'm not arguing.
How many teams can win the World Series?
Dan, I'm again in the big minority here. The beauty of this sport is its unpredictable nature. I think the Dodgers are the best team, and I think there are 6 other teams in the 5 other teams in the National League, maybe 6, that have a chance to win the World Series, if of course, everything goes right. I'm not so sure about the American League. I don't see a great team in the American League, although the Rangers can just mash when everybody is healthy. But the beauty of the sport, Dan, is that there's so many teams in the American League that are pretty good and not great. It's going to be a free-for-all. And there are so many really good teams in the National League. That's going to be an equal free-for-all to see who maybe gets to play, say, the Dodgers in the NLCS.
Okay, let's run down the teams. You got the Phillies and the Braves.
And the Mets.
You're including the Mets in there.
Yes. Now the Mets have to get their starting pitching healthy. Sean Manaea's got to be as good as he was down the stretch. So those are 3 teams I think could win it from the East.
Who else?
All right, the Brewers are a pain in the neck to play, Dan. They catch it. They're hungry. They're young. They're aggressive. They steal more bases than almost anyone. They are a dangerous team, so I'm going to put them in there. And then in the National League, of course, you have the Dodgers. You have the Diamondbacks, who are vastly underrated, especially with the pitching they have now. And I know the Padres aren't spending much money right now, but they're going to be a nightmare also if everything works there. So I think you could find 6, 7 teams that could win the World Series from the National League.
How much does Ohtani pitch this season?
I thought he would be ready sooner than this. I was told in spring training he might be ready on May the 1st. We don't need him until then because of all the off days in April. They could go to a 6-man rotation. I'm not sure when he's going to pitch, but I promise you, when he does pitch, he's going to be really good. Let's say it's the All-Star break. When he gets back, he's going to be really good because, as you know, Dan, he is a machine in getting his body and everything else ready to play in the big leagues and be like no one we've ever seen.
But because of that, I don't know how he doesn't factor into the MVP every year. If he's still able to pitch and hit, he's like Travis Hunter at Colorado. He's a two-way player that nobody is like that. So he has a decided advantage, it feels like, every single season going in, for the MVP.
He does, Dan, and I'm sorry, I don't like it that way. When I first started voting for these things in 1980, it depended on whether your team won or not. Chipper Jones won in 1999 because he carried his team the last 2 months into the playoffs. I refuse to believe that we're just going to give it to Ohtani before the season starts, even though he's the best player in the game. Period. But let's say Juan Soto hits 370 and hits 40 homers and carries the Mets into the playoffs. You're telling me that's not an MVP season and is going to get aced out just because the most remarkable player we've ever seen is really good again? I'm sorry. I can't look at it that way. I want to watch the season play out.
Give me the next player to make $600-700 million.
I'm not sure anyone's going there anytime soon, but I think Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles has a chance to get somewhere near there because he's so young. He's so good. He plays a premium defensive position, shortstop, exceptionally well. Luis Gonzalez, remember him from the Diamondbacks. He met Gunnar Henderson. I was standing right next to him last year, and he shook Gunnar Henderson's hand at the batting cage. First time he'd ever met him. Gunnar walks away, and Louis looks at me and goes, I think that's the biggest shortstop I've ever seen. And I think he's got the biggest hands of any shortstop I've ever seen. That's what we're dealing with here. And Dan, great high school basketball player, tremendous athlete. He's going to figure everything out and an absolute dirt dog when it comes to playing the game and playing it properly. He would be next on my list.
Can we do anything about those elbow things that these guys wear when they go to the plate?
I think it's a little too late for that, Dan. What we really care about is protecting our players and making sure they don't get hurt. Dan, we have healthy scratches now. I got 3 hits last night, but he ran an awful lot last night. So one of the people are saying he might be a little tired. We're going to give him the day off. So as long as we're trying to keep our players healthy, I think they're going to allow gear and armor and stuff like that. And yet the irony is, or the paradox is, the more we protect them, the more it seems they get hurt. It's a little confusing to me.
And I rail on this, and I have for a while, and then nothing can be done about it, I don't think. But the White Sox had 6 pitchers go down in spring training, and they all need Tommy John surgery. And, this is, it's concerning that, maybe it's analytics that got us to this point here. But if you're the commissioner of baseball and you're watching, I mean, it's not a question of if, it's when this happens. And it's a health issue for Major League Baseball. So what do you do about it?
Well, Dan, you have to go all the way back to Little League. And I know this sounds corny. You got to stop the 10, 12-year-olds from throwing off a mound 12 months out of the year. Because that's how guys are getting hurt. Dan, when you played baseball as a kid, November 15th came around, and whatever you were doing at that time, you picked up a basketball. And that's what we should be doing more often. When you play this game, which is so diabolically difficult to play, and you're throwing off a mound 12 months out of the year, no wonder you're going to get hurt. Plus, the industry has demanded that our pitchers throw as hard as they can on every pitch. And when they don't throw a heater, they want them to spin a slider or a curveball at the highest RPM ever. And we wonder why they're getting hurt. The reason you were a good high school pitcher is you played other sports that made you a better pitcher when March came around, because you just got back from the basketball season. I am really worried that we are specializing with our young kids. We have to go back to Little League and make those changes. Otherwise, we're going to keep having these Tommy John and other arm injuries.
What would Pete Rose's stats be Tony Gwynn's stats, Rod Carew's stats, Wade Boggs' stats, if they played in today's game?
Well, with the shifting a little bit different, I think, first off, they would be great players today because great players transcend all eras. If you're going to play Rod Carew the way that they play certain guys, he's going to get 2 bunt hits a game, and I'm not making that up. George Brett, who's a very humble man, told me a couple of years ago when everyone was shifting all over the place, he said, if I played today, I'd hit 450 because he would see where to hit it. Tony Gwynn was a magician.
But would they be power hitters because of the analytics, though, Tim? When they're coming up in the minor leagues, the emphasis is on power.
Yes, I'm well aware, and it really bothers me that we would take a player like Wade Boggs, who's hit 328 lifetime, walks well over 100 times because he can hit a hard line drive single to left field better than any left-handed hitter I've ever seen. And they would tell him, Wade, you're unbelievably strong. You need to hit 40 homers. That's what they would do with him today, and he wouldn't hit 328. He'd probably hit 288 with 35 homers. But I would rather watch Wade Boggs hit it to all fields than be just another guy who hits 1,000,000 homers.
When was your first opening day?
My first was in 1982. I count that, Dan, as my first one, even though I did 81. But 82, I was the full-time beat writer covering the Texas Rangers. And the first 3 games of the season got snowed out in New York. So we had to open in Cleveland, 74,000 people in Cleveland for opening day. The next day, they had like 3,000 people. So it was memorable for a lot of reasons. And so George Wright was the rookie leadoff guy for the Rangers. He got 3 hits on opening day. I went to George, rookie from Oklahoma City. I said, George, did you have a good time today? He goes, yeah, I've never been to a major league game before. So the first game he had ever attended in his life, he got 3 hits. And I just found out like 6 months ago that Mickey Rivers, the mischievous center fielder, faked an injury in spring training in order for George Wright to make the team. And that's how George Wright ended up on the roster on opening day because Mickey loved George Wright. He said, I'll fake an injury and you can play center field on opening day. And then he got 3 hits in the only game he'd ever attended in his life. That is the beauty of baseball.
Have fun today, Tim. Great to catch up with you as always.
Good to see you, Dan. Take care.
That's Tim Kurkjian, ESPN baseball analyst and a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame.